back to our live coverage of Inforce 2025. I'm A.M. Gravelny. You like that? Did it startle you a bit?
Ah!
Yeah, no, that's my movie.
Oh, sorry.
I'm A.M. Gravelny. I'm one of your hosts today. I am a developer advocate on the game day team, joined the incomparable Todd. Todd, tell the people.
Hey, everybody. I'm Todd Fortier. I'm a senior solutions architect here at AWS, where I help build solutions for the AWS Solutions Library, and I'm excited to host this segment with AM. AM, thanks for having me be your partner in this.
Sure. Yeah.
And Penelope, let's not forget, Penelope is joining us as well as a third host.
Of course. Well, all right. Well, we got a guest over here. Martin, welcome back to the show, I have to say. We were here last year, right?
That's right.
All right. Well, welcome back. For anybody who didn't watch last year, number one, why not? What were you doing? But thank you for being here this year. Introduce yourself, please, Martin.
Hi, everybody. I'm Martin Holsty. I'm the CTO for Cloud and AI at Trellix.
All right, Trellix. We're going to be talking about that. I want to remind chat out there, we're live with you. I got chat pulled up. I can see what you're saying.
Same.
So watch it, right? I'm watching you. But if you have questions for Martin, please drop them in chat. We will get them to you, Martin, and hopefully you can answer.
You know, one question I bet a lot of people are asking is, who is Trellix?
Yeah, what do they do?
Trellix is a pharmaceutical company. We make, we're a security company. We're merged from two companies you probably have heard of, McAfee and FireEye. So actually going back a little bit, I think that's two entities you probably know. But everything we're going to talk about now is what we've done since then, which is really fun.
Okay.
And it's all the AI stuff that everyone's talking about. But this could be a little bit of a different look at it, I think. So I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, me too. And I do want to give a shout out to, we are live on the main handle on Twitch. So all of you on the main handle out there joining us, welcome. This is our live coverage. This is AWS OnAir. Can't wait to hear your questions. But Martin, all right, so let's start with Trellix, right? Gave us a bit of a history lesson there. I think that's great. But you mentioned Gen AI, right? We're going to be talking, Bedrock and Nova, I believe?
That's right.
What have you all been up to with Bedrock and Nova?
Wow. So let's see. We've been doing, but we actually had this all land in our laps about 2.5 years ago. We started doing this, which is about 45 years in AI time.
Yeah.
So, I remember the day that GPT-3 came out and you could do something with an LLM.
Yeah.
And that was really, I think, the moment where we realized something was going to happen. And so we started playing around with stuff. And it turned out that essentially everything we'd been cutting our teeth on for the last 10 years was perfectly positioned for it, which was a really weird moment because we're like, why isn't it? So we had all these, and I'll show you here in a bit, but some of the things that I'd been at the table were with the data scientists working on, and, we thought we were going to change the internet, right? And it was okay. It worked pretty well. And we couldn't figure out why this didn't change the world. And then suddenly we realized, the problem was time. We didn't have enough time to actually look through all the stuff that was happening. And what we kind of realized at that moment was we had infinite time because now we didn't need people to read through stuff that people don't have attention spans to read through. And it's not something
I'm one of those people.
Yeah. Well, and it's not something that you would, diagnose as ADHD, right? This is just, there's only so much time in the day. And it's human time is very, very valuable, is kind of the upshot of it. So the question is, what would you do if you had infinite time? And what would you do if you had a staff that had infinite time to go and pursue every last little thing? And suddenly that started to really change the way that we looked at stuff.
I'd probably do my taxes. I need infinite time to do mine. Okay, so you started doing this, and then you look towards generative AI, and you look toward Bedrock specifically to help you do some of these things.
Right.
Okay, so when does the Bedrock start to influence the way that you're?
So we started by rolling our own, and it was really annoying. And we knew that we were pretty far out in front because we couldn't Google our way out of any kind of information. We couldn't use any search engines or couldn't find it on Reddit. Nobody had answers to the kinds of things we were looking for. Normally, if you get like an error message, you just put it in quotes and you go search it, and then you find it, and you're like, okay, here's the forum post or whatever that's got some answer to it. And it was crickets. We could tell that we were the only ones out there doing this stuff. And this was 2 years ago. So this was super early on, and we just got this inkling, I think we might have stumbled onto something that actually fits into all this other stuff. So I talked earlier about these two big companies that came together, and so we have 130,000 different products, give or take.
Wow.
And, it's like, oh man, how are we going to make sense of all this? We've got all this stuff together. And it turned out that was the right moment in time to apply AI to everything because it doesn't get bored and it understands everything. So suddenly having a whole lot of different pieces that AI could put together made a ton of sense. And so that really started to shape what initially looked like a really foreboding kind of deal where it's like, why would I talk to these guys? They've got, it seems like, one of everything. And it's like, which one, what's my favorite, what I want to do here? And we're like, don't worry about it, just listen to this one thing. And it's like,
well, I imagine that's kind of an exciting feeling when you go out there and you say, I don't think anybody's doing this.
Yeah.
Maybe we should jump on this opportunity now. And you said 130?
No, we have like 50 products.
Okay, I was going to say.
I jest. But no, so the big moment was we tried to do this ourselves. We got proofs of concept going. But just to remind everyone what this was like 2 years ago, you were at the moment where you would put a prompt into an LLM running locally on SageMaker, and the thing would it was an early version of Llama, and it would just spit out A's. It was like,
how many R's are in strawberry?
Yeah, no, that was, you were privileged to be able to ask how many R's are in strawberry. This was type something.
This is before that.
Yeah, this is even before that. So this is like Stone Age time in AI, right?
More than 50, less than 100.
I think that's accurate.
And I was so excited when Bedrock came out because we didn't have to deal with this anymore because that's not our thing.
Swapping in different models, testing out how this model responds.
Well, something else that we learned on this, so just last week, our chief product officer was testifying in front of Congress to this very thing. He swore an oath. We don't train models. And you think, well, that's supposed to be like a core competency, right? Training models. Well, here's the thing about training models. When you do any kind of fine tuning, it's like you put way too much weight on that fine tuning. So here's the example. You say, well, every time we see Bob log in on a Tuesday, that's bad. Let's tell the model that. We'll pre-train the model and tell it, hey, whenever Bob logs in on a Tuesday, that's bad. Well, that's a security rule, guys. Like, that's not the right use of LLMs. And what happens is if you do that, what you're doing is shouting at the LLM really, really loudly, and it can't hear anything else that it's reviewing. So the problem is if you do any kind of tuning like that, then you're completely breaking the whole point of the LLM, which is to be this really objective observer to what has happened after all the security tools had their shot at things. So if you look at a network tool, it's looking at packets. Look at an email tool, it's looking at emails, right? So on and so forth with processes run on endpoints. And each one of those things has been told, hey, watch out for Bob logging in on a Tuesday. That's a rule, right? And so it says, hey, I'm raising my hand. The endpoint, just saw Bob log in on a Tuesday. So now it's the Bedrock's job to decide, is it important that Bob logged in on a Tuesday based on everything that we know? Now, here's the other part. 10 years ago, we started writing what we call expert rules, investigative tips. And so the same people that would write the rules would write all of these questions that would go with it. And so it would kind of automate the investigation. But it was an expert's advice, like, hey, if you ever see this rule fire, here's what you want to know next. And again, we thought this was going to completely change security. Nobody had time to click through every single alert and read all this stuff. Guess what does? So we started running all this through Bedrock, and suddenly Bedrock would not only conduct that investigation, it would read the output from its investigation and then figure out whether or not that matters to a human, and then go bug a human and say, hey, this is the one that you've got to look at. Here's how I know.
Right. So sort of filtering out the noise and getting
setting
straight
the context,
to this.
right?
Yeah.
Our context is key. Can we see this in action?
Yeah.
Martin,
Yes, I got it right here.
You have a demo for us.
It's not going to look as flashy, but I think
okay.
This is actually, I was just talking about this with some other folks here this morning. I think that the time of humans looking at a lot of data is starting to decrease. I think we're going to start to see people say, why do I got to read all this? You tell me what I care about. So while this doesn't look like a lot, we have kind of a guesstimate for how much time it would save a human.
Yeah.
That's cool. But one of the first things I want to point out is this is all just the raw data, right?
I was going to say, it looks like data around maybe an HTTP request or something.
This is not exciting. This is very boring.
I see a user agent. Oh, it's the .NET SDK making a call.
Right. No one wants to read this. This is boring. But the point is, you can read it, and this is all the information that the AI was considering. So one of the key things that we learned is that customers really need to be able to trust the decisions that the AI is making. And so to be able to jump in and review the same information as a human to verify, is this the decision that I would make in this situation, is day one what has to happen. So we've built that in. And here's where all the questions come in. So this happens to be a CloudTrail alert. And so we ask really high-level questions like, what other CloudTrail actions are there for this role? That doesn't sound like a security question per se. This is data gathering. This is all the stuff you have to go out
putting
there
it into context to
Right.
see, is this developing into an attack vector, right?
Right. And so this is part of the agentic thing. So
Okay.
these are tools that are going out and saying, I need more information in order to solve this problem. And so here's where we're actually using Nova. So we're using Amazon Nova, which is really, really fast and super cost effective to go and do this part of it, which is picking out dynamically which are the most important questions. Now, here's the other really important thing that we learned on this. You don't want AI to just go and guess at what questions it should ask. We tried that initially. We thought, oh, maybe we don't need our expert rules anymore. We'll just have AI generate them. It's kind of all over the board. So what we do is we give it our 1,000 different rules, and we say, you pick based on the category of this thing that you decided on, which are the most important rules. And given our expert framework, it actually then is that perfect match between what we as humans provide as guidance and the AI doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
And Nova's super good at this. So we got really good at doing the investigation data gathering part with Nova. And then here's the other thing. So we got a ton of partnerships, and some of these are with partners like Tenable. So we can do asset sharing with these places. We also dynamically pick out things like usernames and stuff as it's coming through the information. But we give all of this information to the AI, and so the AI understands who is involved.
This is like from a Nessus scan or something.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. So it'll say, okay, is this an important asset? Who is this? What accounts do they have access to? And the key thing is, that's great that you put it up on the screen, but the AI actually reads through all of this and then builds it into its full analysis. So here's the big deal, and this doesn't look like much. It's like, okay, this is a bunch of text, but it actually did all of the really hardcore work for you, taking into account all of that information that I just went through. So asking all the questions, running all the queries, bringing it all in, and then reading it all, you're talking 15 minutes, maybe an hour worth of work for a human to do it, and they're never going to do that, not for the low-level alerts. And that's the thing is, you're hoping as a security operator that when something is marked critical, that this is all you've got to worry about that day. But I've been doing security incident response for a really long time, and the good guys don't set off the giant alarm bells. The good guys get in there, and they might do one little command that shows up in like a low-level alert, but nobody has time to look through all the low-level alerts until now.
Right.
So this is how you don't get ransomed. This is how you look at every single time somebody runs a script in a weird way, somebody does any kind of administrative action. This triggers this entire process, and it says, it goes through every little event with a fine-tooth comb. It says, is it normal that this administrator just did that?
Well, this
Yes
is
or
sort
no?
of a theme that I'm picking up today as I start to talk to security experts. Certainly not a domain of expertise for me, not that there are many, but there is this is really truly the showcasing of productivity gains because of generative AI and the ability to get the headline, but then go deep and verify, like kind of trust the headline, but then go down deep into the data. Now you're using Bedrock as a mechanism to do this stuff. And certainly Bedrock provides you access to the models that you need to do this, but what are some of the other features of Bedrock that have made this system kind of unique and awesome?
So just having the easy API calls for tool use alone was really, really valuable for that. And there's lots of ways you could do that, but to have that built in directly so that I knew based on the documentation how to do this with Nova, how to do this with some of the other models that we use, that made this super easy. So we have a combination and we evaluate them constantly. So every week a new model comes out and we run it through our benchmark system, which we did a joint blog post with you guys. We have all those numbers published. And it's critical because it's not like a coding test. It's not a math test. This is a security use case evaluation test. And we could check every model as it gets released to see, is this the one that we should be using, yes or no? And so that's how we're super confident whenever we're using a model that it's the right model for the job. And that's where Bedrock is so valuable, because it's not just making the final evaluation. It's how good was it at choosing the right tool for the tool use part of it. So and this is something that I don't think a lot of people truly understand when we talk about agentic AI. The whole point of it is that at each moment in the process, it's given a toolbox and it says, here's all the tools at your disposal, and here's your goal. Go to work. And so my wife's an HR director, and what I liken this to is essentially providing workplace policies to AI, because you just onboarded it for about 15 seconds. So you need to tell it what its job is, what it's allowed to do, what it's not allowed to do, and what are the resources that are at its disposal. And then here are the policies. And it goes through and picks out what tools to use. And the whole time it records, okay, here's what this tool found. What tool should I use now? Okay, I'll try this one. Now I'll go to the next one.
You can certainly start to optimize that or get better performance if you can orient it in the right direction, like you said you did with those questions.
Yeah.
And you could do that with tools as well. You can sort of orient the model in the right direction and get better performance.
Yeah.
But still, you're leaning heavily on the model to discern what's the right tool. And that's really where truly agentic AI is powerful.
Right, because it can be very curious, and that's what you want. And that's part of the framework. How curious should it be? How deep down the rabbit hole should it go? So a lot of places will say we're doing, agentic AI. What they're doing is orchestration. They're saying at the end, we're going to run a playbook. That's not what this is. This is saying for each answer to these questions that it gets, it says, okay, what else would I need to know?
That's a reason.
Yeah. And the reason we came across this is we have all these different products, right? So we see everything from email. We see everything from network. We see everything from endpoint. So when you say, does this IP address matter? It says, okay, I'm going to go see if any of the endpoints did anything with this IP address. I'll check all the network information. I'll go out to Security Lake and see if anybody's got VPC logs that go with this, right? So it's going out to all these different places. And we even have connectors to other data stores. So you can bring your own data lake.
I wanted to, if we could pull up Martin's screen real quick too, on number 4 there, I was reading this, and to me, like, this is, from a security practitioner standpoint, this is something really valuable because you may have missed this, right? So it identified that the IP address associated with this .NET SDK behavior that it's seeing was already flagged, right, for malicious behavior previously, right? And it lists, hey, we've seen some malicious stuff in AWS and in Office 365, right? Two different areas. Yeah. And then it does, I love this third bullet point because it says, however, the IP is dynamic. So it might be, false positive here, right? It might be somebody got unlucky and got
it knows that Amazon is a cloud provider.
Right.
So it understands the concept of a shared IP. We didn't have to train it on that. It just understands general concepts like that. Right. Our job is to be able to reach into any place and give it the tactical information it needs and then the right framework to make the right decision.
Might I suggest one additional, sixth one? Explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old.
So we tried a few of those.
Okay.
We did explain this to your board, explain it to your CISO.
And explain it to your grandma.
Yeah, and it's funny because actually any exec can read through this and basically understand what's going on, which is a new frontier.
Martin, we are so short on time, and I want you to be able to give people, where do I go to get started with Trellix?
So you go to Trellix.com, and we have all this right there. You can click through 3. If you don't believe me on this, you can see it right there front and center on all of it, and check out all the different ways that we get the data to the AI.
Okay, go check it out for yourself if you don't trust Martin, but you should. He's a cool guy. Thank you for joining us again.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Appreciate it. You stick around because we'll be back with more.